All right, so we have a pretty interesting science news story here about a shrew-like creature, one of perhaps an early mammal or a mammal ancestor that lived 225 million years ago, and it is now the oldest mammal ever identified. Here's a artist's representation of it. It does look like a giant, rather fierce and scary-looking shrew. Okay, let's get into the article here. The world's oldest mammal has been identified using fossil dental records, predating the previously confirmed earliest mammal by about 20 million years, in a new discovery that's being hailed as very significant by researchers. So its scientific name, Brachyllodon quadrangularis, was a small shrew-like creature, around 20 centimeters long, so it looks big in this picture because we see this dinosaur a bit far away, but they were only about 8 inches tall. It walked the earth about 225 million years ago, at the same time as some of the oldest dinosaurs, and sheds light on the evolution of modern mammals, according to a team of Brazilian and British scientists. All right, so the discovery was made by researchers from the Natural History Museum in London, King's College London, and the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul in Porto Alegre. Scientists relied on clues provided by fossils of hard tissue such as bones and teeth. This is because mammalian glands, which produce milk, have not been preserved in any fossils found to date. Until now, the Morganucodon had been considered the first mammal, with isolated teeth showing that it dated back around 205 million years. The Morganucodon had a small gerbil-like body and a long face, similar to those of shrews or civets. The dental records in the study published Tuesday in the Journal of Anatomy date Brachyllodon quadrangularis to 225 million years ago, 25 million years after the Permian-Triassic mass extinction event, the third and biggest mass extinction, when more than 90% of species in the ocean disappeared and 70% of land animals died out. Okay, so that's a really interesting note, just as a quick little detail. When you had this huge amount of death and this great dying mass extinction, well, it took millions of years for the ecology to recover. And it turns out it took about 25 million years for this mammal species to emerge. So you can see how the whole mammal lineage, perhaps it existed during the Permian-Triassic extinction event, and it survived, just by the skin of their teeth, perhaps in like the form of very small shrew-like animals like this that could burrow and escape the heat and perhaps any winters caused by ash being thrown in the atmosphere, things like that. That was the kind of mammal that survived the extinction of the dinosaurs, for example. But if you've got, the Permian-Triassic extinction is believed to have like a lot of volcanic activity, and the volcanic activity threw up a bunch of ash, also a bunch of CO2. The temperature got thrown out of whack, ocean acidified, and it was the biggest mass extinction event in Earth's history. And the freaky part is that it's kind of similar to what we're going through now with the anthropogenic extinction. Anyway, mistaken identity. Martha Richter, a scientific associate at the museum and senior author on the paper, told CNN that the Brachyllodon quadrangularis was previously believed to be a, quote, advanced reptile. But examination of its teeth show definitively that it was a mammal. So Richter says, quote, if you think about reptiles, they have many, many different replacement teeth throughout their lives, but we mammals only have two. Firstly, the milk teeth, and then the second dentition, which replaces the original set. This is what defines mammals, Richter said. Brachyllodon is the oldest extinct vertebrate with two successive sets of teeth, baby teeth, and one permanent set, also known as Diphyodonty, the news release said. The first set starts developing during the embryonic stage, and the second set develops after birth. Richter and her colleagues examined 3 lower jaws of the species, which lived in the region covered today by the southernmost section of Brazil. Under the microscope, they discovered, quote, the type of replacement teeth that are only present in mammals, unquote. Richter also said, quote, this was a very, very small mammal that was probably a burrowing animal living in the shadows of the oldest dinosaurs that we know from that period, unquote. She said the team had been working on the project for more than 5 years and described their discovery as very significant. In the news release, Richter said the findings contributed to our understanding of the ecological landscape of this period and the evolution of modern mammals. Another contributing author and a professor of evolutionary dentoskeletal biology at King's College London, Moya Meredith Smith, said, quote, "Our paper raises the level of debate about what defines a mammal and shows that it was a much earlier time of origin in the fossil record than previously known." Unquote. Well, that's pretty cool. Now, if we take a look at the paper here, we just have access to the abstract here, and they basically just repeat what was explained in the paper with a bit more detail, so we can go through it. Diphyodont tooth replacement of Bracillodon, a late Triassic eucynodont that challenges the time of origin of mammals. So, very cool stuff. Very big claim, challenging the origin of a major branch. It's pretty cool. So let's see what we got. Two sets of teeth, Diphyodonti, characterize extant mammals but not reptiles, as they generate mini replacement sets, or polyphyodonti. Polyphyodonti. The transition in long extinct species from mini sets to only two has to date only been reported in Jurassic eucynodonts. Specimens of the late Triassic bracillodontid eucynodont Bracillodon have provided anatomical and histological data from 3 lower jaws of different growth stages. These reveal ordered and timed replacement of deciduous by adult teeth. Therefore, this Diphyodont dentition, as contemporary of the oldest known dinosaurs, shows that Bracillodon falls within a range of wide variations of typically mammalian Diphyodont dental patterns. Importantly, these 3 lower jaws represent distinct ontogenetic stages that reveal classic features for timed control of replacement by the generation of only one replacement set of teeth. So basically they're saying, because we only saw one replacement set, this means that it must have been timed, like in the development of the organism. If it was like a reptile, or say a shark, for perhaps a better example, as they are constantly replacing teeth, they would have probably found more than just one set, like 2 or 3 sets, or evidence of 2 or 3 sets. Let's see. This data shows that the primary premolars reveal a temporary replacement pattern, importantly from directly below each tooth, by controlled regulation of tooth resorption and regeneration. The complexity of the adult prismatic enamel structure with a conspicuous intrastructural Schmelzmuster array, I don't know what that is, suggests that, as in the case of extant mammals, this extant species would have probably sustained higher metabolic rates than reptiles. Okay, so there you go. That's one of the most important evolutionary differences between the early reptiles and the early mammals, because these are like sister lineages, really. The mammals emerged second, but they emerged really quickly after the reptiles, or the proto-reptiles, emerged. But anyway, one of the big differences between these lineages was that the reptiles were generally cold-blooded, whereas the more mammalian forms, the mammalian proto-lineage was more warm-blooded, more endothermic, and that endothermy required a higher metabolic rate. So they ate more food, and they produced more heat, and they produced more waste, but they were also more active and had more energy. And so they're saying here that there's evidence in the teeth and the enamel structure that they had a higher metabolic rate than most reptiles, and that's just further evidence suggesting that this is actually a mammal, a really old mammal, and not like some proto-reptile cousin. Furthermore, in modern mammals, Diphyodonti and prismatic enamel are inextricably linked, anatomically and physiologically, to a set of other traits including placentation, endothermy, fur, lactation, and even parental care. Our analysis of the osteodental anatomy of Bracillodon pushes back the origin of Diphyodonti and consequently its related biological traits to the Nourian and around 25 million years after the end Permian mass extinction event. So the important thing there is that these traits that they've identified, Diphyodonti and prismatic enamel, are linked to placentation, or the production of a placenta in the womb, which is something that mammals do. Endothermy, as I said, also something that mammals do. Fur, something that mammals have. It keeps them warm, preserves heat, keeps them, dry. You've got like an otter or a polar bear or something. Their fur has oils on it that keeps the water out. Lactation, that's what mammals are named after, their mammary glands, and even parental care. Not all mammal species do this, but most do. They take care of their offspring to usually a really extensive degree, more so than almost any other species in the animal kingdom. Maybe birds compete, taking care of their young in nests and stuff, but birds and mammals really take the cake for parental care. Reptiles, sometimes they do, but a lot of reptile species just lay their eggs and walk off and never see their offspring again. Well, there you go. That is a super cool study, super cool result. Oldest mammal ever identified 225 million years ago at the near the base of that family tree, at the divergence of the proto-reptiles and the proto-mammals. Very cool stuff.